If I'm going to go to somebody and ask them to invest over £1 million or euros or whatever into something, they need to know that I'm not just casting doubt and making them worry that something's going to happen. I really do believe that this is something that is best for our business.
When you've built the relationships and you are getting the attention that you want and you want to be kind of talking to the right people, what is the key things going on in the industry right now?
AI is artificial. It is something that has been created through a whole bunch of information that we as humans have fed it. But that personable experience, that moment of real connection, it can't fake that. You've heard of people potentially that have fallen in love with their avatars that they've created and all of that, but it's not real.
It's not about the tech, it's about the people. How do you come up with a line like that, which must seem alien to many people in the industry?
The only way you can really get cybersecurity in the business strategy is to forget about the fact that it's cybersecurity and to focus on the business and to focus on building those relationships.
Welcome to Momentum, a Business Leaders Accelerate podcast, where we talk to people who aren't just working in the industries, but actually moving them forward. I'm Clare Forestier, I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking to someone who knows a thing or two about making an impact in cybersecurity, leadership, and coaching. So joining me is Tamlynn Deacon. She's the Director of Cloud Service and Cyber at HBK. And Tamlynn is also Managing Director of Empower Authentic Coaching, as well as a board advisor for Cyber London. And Tamlynn has spent over 15 years in cybersecurity. But for her, the real key to success isn't the tech, it's the people. So let's find out more. Welcome, Tamlynn.
Hi, thanks, Claire. It's really great to be here.
So let's start with your current role. How would you explain to somebody who isn't in the industry what you do?
It's a great question. And something I've had to explain to my family many, many times. The way that it used to be back in the day was all about, when you enter your credit card online and you think everything's safe and secure, it's people like me that make sure it is. But these days, it's a lot more in mainstream. People know what cybersecurity is now. We're seeing breaches happening. We know about our privacy and our data and all the different regulations that are coming out. From that perspective, I just tell people, I'm in charge of a fantastic group of people, or I lead a fantastic group of people who actually do all the things that they need to do from a cybersecurity perspective, but also from now an IT enterprise, infrastructure, service desk, all those types of things too, which people have become quite familiar with. We could go down the road of, how you secure your house and all of that, but I think we've moved past that in today's day and age. But yeah, it's been an interesting 15 years to get to this particular point.
Do you not feel that the one thing is it used to be a kind of nice to have, and now it's an absolutely, you cannot do business without it. It is the be all and end all almost.
I absolutely do feel that way, and I'm so thankful it's true. So as you said, I've been in the industry for around 15 years now. And back then it was trying to pull teeth of saying why we needed to do things. This is best practice. This is where the industry is moving now. We need to make sure that we're looking after people, our customers' data, business data, our own IP, all of those things. But when GDPR kicked in, it was almost like this light switch that happened, and people started realizing this is a right to do business now. This isn't just something that we have that differentiates us from our customer market, from our different people who are trying to take our business or not. And they're like, well, they don't have cybersecurity practices, but we do, so that's a differentiator. We all have at least a baseline now that we need to adhere to. So yeah, things have shifted, and I'm really glad they have, because I don't have to use fear, uncertainty, and doubt anymore to try and switch people's minds on.
The best way to motivate
Definitely
people.
not.
What about your journey? Did you always see that you would be working in cybersecurity?
No,
I'm sure you didn't.
Okay, if any of my friends from school are watching, then they would laugh out loud. It is definitely not what I expected. So I don't know if you can tell from my accent, but I grew up in South Africa. In fact, in an age at the age when I started school was when Mandela had just been released. So we had our first year of full integration. So we in South Africa did not have a lot of technology when I was growing up. And I think at that time it was, that was quite normal across the world. But all I ever cared about was people. I cared about the girl in the playground area that was sitting alone that everybody was ignoring. And I even, when I was 13, I signed up to be a youth worker, at my local church, and I started really, really helping out in those areas. And I remember the first thing first job or something, wasn't even a job, where I thought, this is what I want to do when I grow up, was going out into these camps and to these township areas where people had absolutely nothing, and I could just help. I had nothing to give. I was a kid, and we had nothing when I was growing up. But just to be able to give my time and my love to people to help them in the smallest way possible, I thought there's no greater joy in life. So yeah, when I was in high school, I used to go and use my friends' computers because, we had to write something in a document. I had no interest in tech whatsoever. And when you ask the question about how did you move from that, I was going to be a minister at one point to where I am now. All I can really say, it was a interesting move from from deciding I never want to be in a place of poverty again. I never want to be in a place of not knowing if we're going to be in a safe, secure location. And I also had no idea what I wanted to do anymore. So I just decided I'm going to climb that corporate ladder and see where it takes me. And it took me into cybersecurity. On the plus side, not many people with personable skills tend to take the route that I did back then. Everybody was super, if they were in the industry, they were really techie focused, super keen on learning how to code or how to break things and all the rest. And that's just never at all been something that I've enjoyed doing, which meant I had a bit of an edge over my counterparts, because I could lead and I could help people and I could see past the immediate screen and what it is that we needed to do. And yeah, so
So yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, because that's how we kind of lead on, I suppose, to that line I mentioned at the beginning about it's not about the tech, it's about the people. Maybe explain that there. Obviously, I can see you've come in from a real person-centered point of view, but how do you come up with a line like that, which must seem alien to many people in the industry?
Yeah. So actually, oddly enough, it was when I met one of the founders of Business Accelerate program. I was at an event talking, and the conversation that I was speaking about was around how do you get cybersecurity into the business strategy? Like, how do you marry those two things up? Because people were so used to having the mode of we need our budget and we're a cost center and this is what we need to do, and this is just the fact of doing business, as we've touched on. And I completely flipped it. This was a fair few years ago now, and I said, actually, the only way you can really get cybersecurity in the business strategy is to forget about the fact that it's cybersecurity and to focus on the business and to focus on building those relationships. And the reason I really fundamentally believe I've got to where I am is because that's exactly what I've done. I've made sure that I understand where we are in the business. I've understood the people that are running it, and I've been able to deliver on promises and find a balance between what we need from a security perspective and what we need to keep the business running. So it always comes back to those relationships. If I'm going to go to somebody and ask them to invest over £1 million or euros or whatever into something, they need to know that I'm not just saying that. I'm not just casting doubt and making them worry that something's going to happen. I really do believe that this is something that is best for our business. And I really do believe it's something that's going to help it go forward and create that mode of what is going to be best for our customers in the long run. And without building relationships, they're not going to trust me on that. They're just going to look at the numbers and say, yeah, you know what, this is not what we're ready for. This is not, what we think we want to invest in. So you've got to build those relationships. You've got to build that trust if you're ever going to really push forward the cybersecurity agenda. And it shouldn't be the cybersecurity agenda. It's the business agenda. We want to be safe. We want to operate in a good way that's going to keep our information secure and our customers' information secure. And I mean, why would anybody want to be in a position where they're not doing that? That's not something you want to celebrate. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I've heard a lot more people have started moving on to that now too, as time has gone by. So we've had conversations where people have started saying cybersecurity is an enabler, and I'm like, I've been saying that for a decade. It's finally caught on.
There's
So
nothing more annoying when someone says, I read somewhere that it's an enabler, and you're like, hello.
I might have written that, who knows? But it truly is, right? To your point earlier, that it's not a nice to have anymore. It is something that we need. But if we can provide those guardrails in anything in life, if you've got a few guardrails and you're heading in a direction, you can be so much more focused on the direction that you're going in, rather than if you have no guardrails at all. And then, it's almost like chasing butterflies here, there, and everywhere. You think, well, in what direction am I going to go next? Well, actually, if we just put those butterflies into a pillar, you can still chase the butterflies and it's still exciting and you can be super creative, but you're not going to go off on so many tangents that are going to get you into trouble.
I always think of it as say you're building a bridge to get somewhere, but also it's not just to get somewhere. It's like you want your customers to have a safe, lovely experience on the bridge. So
Precisely.
the guardrails aren't put up last minute. The guardrails are kind of part of the whole process that goes into it.
Exactly that. Or another way of putting it is, the reason that you put brakes into a car, it's not to slow you down. It's so that you can go full steam ahead and slow down when you need to.
Yeah.
So many analogies. I love it.
Yeah, I know. I love a good metaphor for everything. So that's what makes me pick things up and learn things. So hopefully there'll be a few people listening who think the same way. When you've built the relationships and you are getting the attention that you want and you want to be kind of talking to the right people, what are the kind of things that you're talking about now with people? What is the key things going on in the industry right now?
So the industry, I mean, we would be completely amiss to not talk about AI, right? That is definitely where things are shifting at the moment, and understanding how to use that in a safe way, and is there a safe way, is definitely something that is on a lot of people's minds. And there are so many different waves of thought when it comes to how we're going to do this in the best way. And for me, which is now what I talk about when I go to events and all the rest, is I've kind of moved away from the business strategy side of things, but I talk about the human elements of AI. I guess that makes sense based on what we've been discussing about me. But there is something fundamentally true. AI is artificial, right? It is something that has been created through a whole bunch of information that we as humans have fed it. But that personable experience, that true personable experience, that moment of real connection, it can't fake that. It can pretend to, and you've heard of people potentially that have fallen in love with their avatars that they've created and all of that, but it's not real. And that mode of what is real and that real, true human connection, that can't be taken away from us, at least, not for the next decade or so. So I still talk about the human element. I still talk about how important it is. And this is why authenticity is so, so key. It's so fundamentally true. And the more I've gone through my career, the more I've stuck to this, where even if you talk about office politics, for example, and you think about, oh, you should be playing the game because you want to build your career, or you need to do this. Hold on now. Who set those rules? Who decided that this was the game I had to play? How about I play my own game? I play by my own rules? And that is, I'm not going to try and be or do or think any other way than myself, because nobody else can do or think or be like me, including AI. So that fundamental thing of we can have AI, it can be artificial, but it can't be human. There has to be the human in the link in this whole situation. And whether or not it's from the fact checking or whatever way you want to look at it, from me, it's impossible not to be completely true to who you are if you want to make a business grow in a certain way or behave in a certain way. If you want to build those values and create a great place to work, for example, you can't pretend to be something and then act in a different way. And yeah, so it's always the human element for me. That's always what I'm talking about. The industry obviously now wants us to lean to AI, but even then, that human piece is super important.
Well, that whole being authentic, which is a word that's been, again, it's become like icon, it's almost overused, but it is, what it actually means is incredibly important. And when you see just something written, it's been written by AI as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
a human. That idea of being your authentic self at work that you were talking about there, I guess, you also work in coaching. So you must cross that just through your coaching work anyway. How do you bring it in? How do you suggest people bring it into work? Because we are a bit institutionalized into how we think we should behave at work, and there's a real sort of side. People have two personalities, the one they take to work and the one they have at home, and I've never been very good at that. I am who I am in the same person in each space, but I see it with a lot of people. I see it with people I'm related to, that they clearly have very different personas, and it means you're never truly yourself. You're never truly relaxed and secure at work. How do you help people do that?
So for me, I say to people, we all have our superpowers. We all have something that we are inherently great at. And it comes back to the authenticity that we have within ourselves, right? Those superpowers have got their kryptonite. They've got their thing that is going to change it from something that is fantastic and is your driver to your downfall. And what people I tend to find who really shift themselves from their home life to their work life is they haven't really figured out how to make sure that that doesn't happen. And from a coaching perspective, that's what I really try to help with people. So, for example, we know I'm a people oriented person. My superpower is I'm really empathetic. So I will connect with people quickly, and I will know quite quickly and intuitively whether or not we're going to click. And I really struggle if I don't click with those people, because then I'm feeling like I'm needing to try something else and shift my mindset and all the rest. But the flip side of being really empathetic and really caring and really trying to make everybody around me feel comfortable and happy is I'll often put myself at risk, or I'll put myself last. It's difficult to talk about this particular point, but I've got to that stage of burnout before, and I've got to that stage of complete breakdown. And it was only in getting to those darkest places that I found the resilience and what it is that I needed to start to say, no, I'm not going to give my all every second of every day. I'm not going to push these boundaries so far that I break and I can't be there for my daughter. I'm not going to do that anymore. And that sent me on this investigative route of, but that's who I am. How do I just flip that switch off? And what I've learned in the process is, from somebody who's super caring, and everybody's got their own superpower. So I'm not saying that this is everyone's thing, but when you start to feel that you're going through that mode, is to think, what actually helps me? What is it that I need? And you can flick that switch over just a little bit, because if you think this inherently doesn't feel good to me, because I know that in the long run I'm going to be hurt, then what does feel good for me in this situation? I could say, Claire, I really feel for the situation that you're going through, and I really wish I could help, but I'm in back-to-back meetings and I physically cannot get to you right now. I'm happy to delay this. I'm happy to have a conversation with you another time. What I need from you right now is to give me just a little bit of space, and to understand what those core questions are, to push back in a way that's actually helpful and professional, means that you don't have to leave yourself at home. You do get to bring your full self, but much like in cybersecurity, you know what those guardrails are to say, hey, I'm starting to swerve into the wrong lane here. I need a course correct. And that for me really has helped. And there's different ones, right? We've got different personalities and value traits, and every single one of those ones have got this little switch that you can say to yourself, hey, you know what? I'm being really controlling right now. From somebody who's really analytical and they're really clear and they know exactly what it is. Some people can look at that as, hey, you're being a bit over controlling and you're trying to tell me what to do, and that my point isn't valued. So you have this switch that says to you, being really controlling, what's really going to help now? It's going to be to think about this from somebody else's perspective. And you take a step back and you're like, okay, I'm being analytical, and now I'm looking at this as if I'm watching a CCTV camera and I'm watching everything play out. And yes, this person is doing something I don't agree with, but I can't see what's happening behind them. I can't see what's happening through that window that they can see through. And it just helps you I'm still analytical. I'm still thinking about things in a way that's clear, but it's not so far that you're going to alienate those people by controlling them. So there's these tips and tricks that you learn that you can bring your whole self, but you set those guardrails up so that you don't feel like you are overextending or sabotaging your progress in your career.
And I suppose, people go through their careers and they become very good at it and they become leaders in this field. There's still a lot to learn because the way you communicate, the way you do things isn't going to work for everyone in your team. So I know you've set up a coaching program to help people with this. I suppose what's the biggest mistake that people have carried through with them as they grow through their career and then suddenly have to lead with their communication?
So from a technical standpoint, it is very clear to me. One of the things that, and it's the reason that I've actually created this group coaching program that we'll be launching in a few weeks, but it is that they think everybody does think the way they do, and they think they've got to where they are because of because of what they know, and it's right. It's true. You've got to where you are because of what you know and how you reacted. But much like when you're growing up from being a toddler to a child to a teenager, you have to adapt and you have to change. So it's that mode of saying, right, you are incredibly fantastic at your job and you know your technical expertise inside out. But business leaders, they really don't care. Like, that's not what they're after. They want to know, can they trust you? Have you got that relationship with them? Can they trust you to get what you need done? Can they trust you to give you just enough information so they understand and not bore them to death with spreadsheets and charts and multiple things? But we've had this CVE breach and this thing's gone wrong and all these things are going on. And they're like, what? They don't need that. And that has definitely been, through my career and leading people through the different years, has definitely been one of the most interesting challenges I've faced, to try and be like, how do we help you adapt your communication style to move you from being an individual contributor to a senior leader? And that's pretty much what I think the biggest thing is at the moment that people in tech are facing as they grow into their leadership positions.
And if somebody was listening to this who maybe wants to get into a leadership position, they want to level up to that, what's the first step you think they should take?
So I would always say, and I'd say this to many, many people, find somebody that you can really, really trust to mentor you in the first instance and have open, honest, real conversations with them. What is it really like? How do you really feel about it? And if you become really serious and you think, hey, you know what, I definitely don't want to go through a technical architect route. I want to go into core leadership. I want to one day be a CEO or a founder of my own business. Then I would recommend getting a coach. Honestly, it changed my life when I did. I went from being incredibly introverted and self-doubt and having these modes of why have they given me this job? Like, I don't even understand why I'm here. How did I get here? To actively going out and convincing people that I'm one of the best out there. It's not that I truly believe that I am a great coach. I've lived through a lot of the actual life work that goes there, and I've really have always cared about people, and now I've got the frameworks and the studying and all of those things to back up the coaching side of things. But you have to really click with the person that you're working with. So you can't go out there and decide, hey, I'm just going to get a coach and I'm going to push on through and just sign the dotted line without knowing them. You both have to have the connection or it's not going to work. So find yourself a mentor. And a mentor and a coach are quite different, because mentors that you're expecting them to guide you and to help you, and they don't necessarily have to be in your field, but they do help. And then when you become super serious about it and you really, really do know, then I encourage you to invest in yourself and really back yourself for once. We invest in our health, we invest in exercise and our food and all the rest of that, but we tend to neglect to invest in our mental health and our mental capacity and our real underlying values that push us to be the best version of ourselves. And nobody can be a better version of you than you. So coaches really help to pull that out of you. So that would be my recommendation.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we spend an awful lot of time getting to a level without the help necessarily that we don't necessarily see that we had a lot of help or mentoring or support to get there. And we can have done. Sometimes you have just got there through dint of hard work. But then to get to the next stage, you need help, you need advice, you need the experts. And I think there's less push in this country to go and get therapy or counselling or coaching or support. It seems to be a sort of still seen by many people as, well, you're failing somewhere if you have to do that, as opposed to, why wouldn't you use all the tools that are out there to just
Why
get you to
wouldn't
the
you?
next level? It's a bit of a
It's
mindset change that you need to embrace.
It definitely is very similar, as I say, very similar to going to the gym, right? Or any type of
Mm.
exercise. You just got to get going. And I mean, there are things that you can do. You don't have to sign up to an expensive, high level coach to get this stuff. You can do some training, or group coaching is a fantastic way to do it in an affordable way. If you've got a specific issue that you'd like to look into, if you want to dip your toe into that kind of world. But I've got a personal trainer which I haven't seen in about 6 months. I miss her so much, but it's true. So I hurt my back, and there was just no point in me going to overexert myself and hurt myself more for a while. So we're taking a break from our relationship, if you will. But I could not exercise as well if I didn't have someone showing me exactly what to do and exactly how to do it, and correct me when I do it the wrong way. It's a similar thing with health and nutrition. You get health and nutrition advice often from the wrong people, but we're always taking that advice. So it's exactly the same thing. It does seem a little bit taboo here still in the UK, but much like everything, we tend to follow a bit of a I want to say follow the sun, but it's a reverse follow the sun. We tend to see things that work well in America when it comes to that sort of thing come to us a little bit later. And in the East, actually, if you think about it that way, because if in either direction, we look into the East as well, it's we look introspectively, the different cultures that we have around the world, they're looking into themselves and they're saying, hey, how can I be the best version of me? But not necessarily from it because I want to succeed. It's how do you give back to the world? So I don't really know why in England we don't do it as much. But yeah, it is interesting, and I'm really excited to be a part of the new push that we're having here. I have met a fair few coaches since I started doing it and started studying it. And it's super interesting that they tend to come from HR areas and very few people from
Mm.
the tech. But I guess that kind of makes sense. We people that are in the tech industry, as I mentioned earlier, aren't usually the type of people that are extroverted enough to go out and to have those conversations. So yeah, it's quite cool to be one of the first. Yeah, and I'm hoping this is now going to create a whole deluge of people saying, I'm a tech coach. What are you talking about, crazy lady? And I'll be like, hey, let's meet each other up because we can share stories.
How do you balance it all, though? If you've got a particularly busy role like that, like your role in HBK, and then the coaching side, how do you make it work?
Oh man, my HBK people are absolutely fantastic. So we've got a few very cool policies, and in England, you know that we can work 4 days a week, right? We're allowed to apply to do that. So that is something that I did purely because I wanted to give more back. You mentioned in my intro that I'm an advisor for Cyber London. I advise other smaller companies too. I feel as though if I'm doing that during my working week, I'm not. I don't, it doesn't sit well with my values. So how I balance it is I've got Mondays, which like we know today's Monday. This might not be aired on Monday, but focusing on doing the things that actually give me that energy and that power. And that's what I really, really try to do. Keep it into those times. I also wake up quite early. So I'll be in bed by around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And then around 5 o'clock, I'm starting to wake up. And that's when I'm like, right, I want to do my meditation and my health stuff for myself, and then I go into my HBK work for those 4 days a week. So it does really help to have a company that's open to these types of things, that really embraces the whole self, and who we are authentically. Because I don't think I would still be able to really be in tech if I didn't have that option, to really get out there and help. Obviously, there's moments too when if something would go wrong, because I'm in charge of cybersecurity, I would need to flip that hat and flip that switch on. But I've been doing this for 15 years now from a cybersecurity perspective, so I'm quite used to giving up weekends when I have to, or calling in from a holiday if it's needed, and those types of things. But yeah, it's I'm quite lucky that I've managed to find a company that allows me to do both.
Well, you can build in that resilience exactly if you have the right company. And if you're not in that kind of company and you want to be, I guess that's when you have a coach, and that's the goal you're working towards, to get you the resilience and also the understanding of what you need to be able to be that best person in that role. And obviously, I'm sure you don't spend every Monday saying, Sorry, this is not a security day. If there's a security issue, you would obviously deal with it. It's a way of balancing it. So what we want to do now, and we're going to be doing all the time in this podcast, hopefully, is to kind of end with a bit of fun. Not that this hasn't been fun, but end with something a little bit different. I'm going to do a quick fire round with you. Just say the first thing that comes to mind. No overthinking this, because it's just a bit of fun to get to know you. What's your favourite holiday destination?
Oh, I have to say South Africa because I miss going home.
Fair enough. And I had my honeymoon there 100 million years ago, and it was a wonderful place, so I don't blame you. A movie that you've just watched too many times?
Ratatouille, guilty pleasure there.
Ratatouille, okay, yeah. Tell me why Ratatouille.
So Ratatouille, because the underlying story is that greatness can come from anywhere. And I never really realized that's why I loved it when I started watching it. But it was one of those things where you think that something that is as simple and as disgusting and weird as a rat can become a Michelin star chef is a very, very it's an inspiring thing, you know, that you think you don't, it doesn't matter where you've come from. It doesn't matter what problems that you've had to go through. It doesn't matter how icky people find you. There's always something special waiting out there for you if you're willing to go out and search for it.
Favorite cuisine and maybe your go-to restaurant?
Oh, okay. So favorite cuisine, it's definitely anything that's fusion. I love fusion stuff, so that's a very broad one for you there. And favorite restaurant, oh no, it's too many. My favorite all-time restaurant has actually closed down. It was my first ever Michelin restaurant that I went to, called Lauterland, and they have since closed down. So I'm looking for a new favorite now. But that was where I always used to go to for any celebration. It was really close to where I lived. Well, not really, but close enough. And my first real experience of good food.
We'll keep listening to the podcast because others are going to be sharing where they recommend, so you might get one then. And if you weren't in cybersecurity, what would you be doing instead?
Would definitely have to say coaching. So coaching and advising 100% is something I love doing. I really, really love helping small businesses find their feet and to jump and take a go and chase their dreams. So being a part of that industry is definitely where I would be full time if I could be.
Thank you so much, Tamlynn. It's been a wonderful conversation. I've really enjoyed hearing what you have to say. Before we go, where can people find out more about you if they want to connect or follow your work or get involved with the group coaching?
Yeah. Okay. So it's the coaching is called empowerauthenticoaching.co.uk. That's the website. So feel free to go have a look at that. And then, of course, find me on LinkedIn, Tamlynn Deacon. I'm a LinkedIn whack, so it'll be easy to find.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Momentum, a Business Leaders Accelerate podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, please leave a review, or send it to somebody who you think will really use the insights. Many thanks for joining us, Tamlynn. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.